Hey guys, welcome to Pressplay, and I'm extremely excited to have Bharath Mohan, founder of Sensara.tv, on the podcast. Sensara is a pioneering company specializing in advanced video understanding and retrieval systems for entertainment industry. And we will get into how AI and media tech are a match made in heaven. But before that, welcome Bharat.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Vineet. Because you're very famous for your newsletter. A lot of my colleagues are like, "Oh, you're actually talking to Vineet," and they've been following you for quite some time now. So, thanks a lot for getting us in here.
No, absolutely. Pleasure is all mine. It's always good to talk to the practitioners in the field. So maybe before we jump in and talk about some of the nitty-gritties of the technology and the use cases, why don't you introduce yourself and Sensara?
Totally. I'm a Bangalorean. I'm still out of Bangalore here. So I got a PhD in information retrieval and recommender systems from the Indian Institute of Science. I worked at Google for a while, was a tech lead in Google News and Google Finance. So did a lot of cool algorithmic work there about who copies from whom, who's known for authoritative reporting and things like that. And the whole thought there was we obviously being part of Google was amazing at that stage. There was so much that's happening, and we could actually see the world change, right? So there's so much of knowledge that's become suddenly accessible. And then we started thinking about, hey, the real world is actually in video, right? So, and can we apply the same level of interacting, understanding, searchability to video? Right? And we're like, okay, let's dive into this and see whatever it takes to understand video. That's how there was a kind of a motivation for starting this company, getting into this. In fact, Sensara means Sara in Sanskrit means essence. So we are like the essence of senses. And obviously, video is, I mean, they use the word multimodal. It is sensorial. You get to see, you get to hear, right? And you kind of put things together. So we wanted to build an understanding of that and move forward. It's been a long journey. I think there's been obviously we did some fantastic work. We've always been very researchy because that's the nature of the people. Of course, I have a PhD, been doing research and all that, and my team is also like that. IT Mumbai, people from Microsoft Research, and so on. So we've always been driving new products, and it's always very hard to come up with a new product because there's no inherent demand already for a new product. You have to create a need for it and tell people this is how we have to move and so on. But it's been an incredible journey. Of course, um, the last year, the last couple of years, things have just opened up, and the notion of what is a video, what you can get done with video is also the space has widened up a lot more right now. So very exciting times.
No, awesome. And so tell me, the company was founded in 2015, right? As per your website, etc.
Correct. Yeah, we're
And
10
then
years old. Yeah.
10 years old, yeah, congratulations. Um, and then so you started out with a particular mission and vision in mind. Has that been changed post 21, 22 when the GPT came in and changed our lives?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's been 10 years now. And when we started out, we were like, let's build basic understanding of what's happening in video. And there are different types of companies that people build. So many are like very focused on business. Hey, there's money flowing in the system here. Can we do something that makes the flow of money more efficient? Then there are product companies which are essentially looking at trying to make something a little bit more convenient for keeping a user in mind. And technology companies, the way they're built out is they bring a new capability. And with the new capability, you get lots of different applications and so on. Markets kind of open up. you will have new markets coming up. And obviously, an example is if you look at touch interfaces, right? So a technologist would have created a touch interface, and it's not like a business guy is saying, "I need this problem to be solved," but you create the tech, and then you go out and you know that it has like so many different applications everywhere. Video understanding is something like that. It's like basic technology of what is happening inside video. And if you build that, and there can be many layers of what is happening in video, we've looked at it as very early on. We said uh, there is structure, there is behavior, and then there is semantics. So what is structure is all the simple things like, hey, right now there's a podcast, there are a couple of people here, both of them are male, right behind you there's a light, behind me there's a sofa, right? This is the structural aspects of things that are coming in. Then you have the behavioral aspect of, oh, this person is smiling, this person is trying to lift something up, right? So a couple of people are talking, somebody is jumping off a cliff, right? And then you have the semantics of what are they trying to achieve through this, right? So now, like in this video, we are trying to go through the notion of how the video industry itself is going to change, right? There's a lot more semantics that is coming in. So all of these are very foundational. You need to apply basic models when you're trying to understand this. Not all of them can be solved with the same hammer, and you kind of put the whole gamut of machine learning applications, right? And what you're seeing recently with the LLM models is only one of them. It only solves some of the problems, but you need to go back to there's a mix of this thing called supervised learning, unsupervised learning, uh, reinforcement learning, and so on. Now, what has happened is there were always applications for this, and in our 10-year journey, we always looked at this. Initially, we still looked at like, I have a stream for linear TV. Can I find out what ad is playing where? Can I identify the ad? And then there were other applications like you just feed the all the linear channels that are happening. Probably in India, you have 400 plus channels, and then you have Sri Lanka, you have maybe 40, 50 channels. Can you figure out who's important uh, in that land, right? Can you automatically build a graph of saying, okay, Narendra Modi is important, Rahul Gandhi is important, but Rajnikant is also important, right? So all of these. So they were all like very, very bottom up ways of learning about video, which by which you make use of things like called unsupervised learning, structural aggregation, and all that. So we've always been working on applications for this, and very monetizable. We used to work with the ads industry, augmented advertising, analytics, for example, to find out like what content is working for whom, and so on. So through the 10 years, the evolution that we've seen is 10 years back, what was trending was this notion of smart TVs were just about coming, right? And but linear TV was still massive. Even though smart TVs were coming, linear TV was dominating 80% of watch time on the screen, right? So the immediate thing was, can you bring smarter experiences to linear television? So it started with that. So around COVID time is when things completely changed, especially for us and elsewhere in the world as well. The transition towards digitization was so massive, so massive. Everybody started laying. In fact, it was very good for us as a company because we started getting larger and larger deals. Telco started talking to us saying, we need to accelerate in this, and we need technologies like this that know what is happening video. Can we present video in different ways, and so on, right? And today, I think we've come to a stage where the level of understanding of what is happening in video is gotten so much better. Especially in the last part, I spoke about structure, behavior, and semantics.
Mm-hmm.
I think the semantics and the reasoning parts have actually we've done a lot of good work in this, and especially the arrival of these things called video multimodal models. There are a few companies that have done this in the last year. There's open source also that's doing very well here. And then you put reasoning layers on top along with all the structured data. So this has been like a massive opportunity that is there.
No, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so always, yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, that's amazing. I mean, I'm just let's double click on the AI bit, and let's get into it. Uh, and essentially, from a video impact point of view, right? You have your understanding, and then personalization of your video journey for a user on OTT or anything that you do in life, right? In terms of watching video, you ideally want it to be personalized to a certain degree. When you especially when you come to a new platform, and you expect that over time the graphs will be built and will be personalized, and then you talk about the user engagement bit, where that will eventually lead to monetization. uh, what are the areas within that gamut, and obviously also the analytics, right? So the analytics piece, which is a post piece, because that will feed into your personalization journey. What are the aspects that are taking up more of Sensara's time and effort?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are particularly interested in this notion of video discovery and video discovery experiences, right? And this does not stop at personalization. And to actually explain this, I'll take a quick detour, right? So there is essentially everyone's fighting for attention. And generally, what happens with humans is you have time for something for 3 seconds, even when you're passing by, right? So you even driving on the road, you look at a banner 3 seconds, and then you move to the next thing. Most people have time for 3 seconds, and then if something is interesting, they'll pause. They'll look at it for a little bit longer. So then you spend 30 seconds on it, and then you spend 30 seconds, and then you're like, okay, this is interesting. Let me inspect it a little bit more. So this is very human about it. Let me actually take a roadside scenario and show this, right? I'm walking down the street. I look at a banner. I stop. This is interesting. How is the crowd looking? That's the 30-second part. Then I walk towards the counter, and if it's a place they're selling food, I check the menu for 3 minutes, right? And then I decide if I have to go in and spend the next 30 minutes there, right, eating.
Hmm.
So a lot of things we do in life actually go in this curve. So we do so this is the we call this the progression of attention.
Hmm.
So we spend 3 seconds to decide what we do for 30 seconds. We spend 30 seconds to decide what we do for 3 minutes. We spend 3 minutes for what we do for 30 minutes, right? Uh, what is interesting is several companies have hacked this. Now, there are companies today, uh, take Twitter, for example, right? They retain you in a 3 second trap. You look at a tweet, 3 seconds, move to the next tweet, 3 seconds, next tweet, 3 seconds. You never move on to something that is longer form. Okay.
Hmm.
Then you move to Instagram and Facebook, coming with a video. So you look at something, the poster for 3 seconds, you're like, okay, let me check it out. It starts playing 30 seconds, and then they keep you in the same loop again, 3 seconds, 30 seconds loop, right? So Instagram is
Yeah.
trying to keep you in the what's in a 3 minute loop. YouTube is in a 3 minute loop. Most content that you will publish will be around the three minutes to 5 minutes, obviously, and then everything that you read online, right? You go to Times of India, go to Live Mint, you go to New York Times, you go to Washington Post. They're all in the 3 minute loop. So you're
Yeah.
actually looking at somebody keeping you in the 3 minute loop. 30 minutes is long form, right? So what is important to know is what used to be assured in appointment viewing earlier, where you have a show called Chitrahar that is coming at 9 p.m. and you were assured that people will spend 30 minutes. Completely gone because all these attention traps are there earlier on. So
Yeah.
if you have good content, it is your responsibility to recommend people and take them through this funnel, right?
Hmm.
So, and I use the word recommend, right? Anything that is long form has to be recommended well. So, if you have to convince somebody to take a AI course, right? It takes some time to recommend to them, right? It's not like, hey, look at a poster and then go in, right? So, video discovery is actually going through the same thing. And what we've quickly seen, and a lot of people in the industry appreciate this, is video, especially long form video, is less about what you recommend but is becoming more about how you recommend it, right?
Mm, mm.
Say you're watching Interstellar and you have to recommend Gravity, just showing a poster is not enough. You have to figure out that Interstellar and Gravity are actually about space. There are accidents that are happening in space, right? And then you bring snippets of that in and get them engaged, and then they move further, right? So when we started looking at video discovery, initially we started out as a recommended system, obviously personalization and all that, but now it is increasingly going into go deep inside the video, find out what is that thing that will be able to draw the person in, bring it out and take it in. And the reception has been great. We have many people that actually go by what we see as the evolution of this. And obviously, this change will catch up, right? It takes some time for them to look at new possibilities, integrate them into their products, and so on. So at all stages, I know I took a quick detour, but when I said many people thought video discovery is a solved problem, hey, oh, what is there? You just go to this cloud system and it can do similarity for you and then come back. Or today, even they'll say you want recommendations, you can go to ChatGPT and ask for give me recommendations. But no,
Mm.
video recommendations have to be visual, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about saying you need to see Shawshank Redemption, but why you should watch it has to be uh, augmented with visual experiences there, right? And this is a massive opportunity that we see here about how to slice and dice. And this is
Mm.
not just premium video you're looking at. Every video, your podcast will have the same problem. Why will someone watch
Yeah.
this podcast for 45 minutes or an hour? You need to make enough of a case.
Yeah.
So you are constantly at work to try to pick out that small nugget and say something like this is coming up later, right? So
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
are seeing this like go all over the place that way. That's the massive potential
No,
that we see.
exciting. So I will ask you about Sensara and its different product suite. We'll come to that. But before that, I think on your recommendation part is such an exciting space in itself because, the way I look at it, when I've been in the video and streaming industry for some time, and, early days of video and OTT, you would basically watch what, let's say, a Netflix recommendation engine would serve up because that was the only player in town. Then you had others coming in, and they started, offering similar recommendation for their content. Now and over the last, I would say, post pandemic, because over pandemic, video habits changed, and people are watching a lot of content. People had time to think about their experiences a lot more. Now we have reached a point where uh, people are questioning the effectiveness of a recommendation engine of, let's say, a Netflix or a Prime Video or so on and so forth, because if I'm watching, let's say, the last 4 times I watched something which is comedy, horror, and, let's say, murder mystery, the fifth time I might want to watch something completely different like anime.
Right.
However, the system that is currently in place is more likely to do a sounds like one of these three genres that I just watched. Is that
Yeah, yeah.
is that
So
is that fair?
this has been studied very well. In fact, it was studied even better in. Yeah, there's a lot of research also that's gone into this. What you're
Hmm,
talking about is this thing called a filter bubble, wherein
hmm,
you see a few things that the system assumes you only like these and keep showing more of these. But there are very good ways of breaking apart. So that essentially, like the way diversity is spoken about a lot,
hmm,
there are many ways to recommend, right? So there is, for instance, you would recommend based on your taste alone, and
hmm,
your taste is actually temporal. There is ephemeral. You have long-term taste, you have short-term taste, right? So some movie released yesterday in the theaters, and hence you'll come back here and you have a short-term taste.
hmm,
Something happened in the news, and you're looking for something based on that, right? So and then you have worldly data about what is trending, right? And then you have calendars of activities. So Mahakumbh happened some time back, right? So it's obviously an event that is periodic. So there are also worldly events that are happening. So a
Mm.
good any good recommendation system practitioner will mix it up, right? So they will
Mm.
not give you one stream. There are always multiple ways of exploring the content universe. They
Mm.
will always mix it up, and they'll give you options, and you will always never eliminate a human in the loop, right? So you will, because there is a component of an editor who brings this insight, and they
Right.
come up with beautiful combinations of this. And the in fact, a lot of times, at least the products that we do, we accept editorial inputs even into the recommender system. It is not like an AI that will go on its own. People have different aspects, right? So they will say, I don't want to be just clickbaity. There is something I stand for, right? And I
Yeah.
want to promote a little bit more of this, right? So a good recommender system takes care of all of these things. And I think there are enough experts today who will do this. The the thing you need to be cautious about is to say, oh, I'm not just going to give it off to an algorithm, or they used to call it
Right.
an algorithm. Now they call it an AI, and right, which is because there's always you have to bring this aspect as well. While I was doing a PhD, right, so there was we were studying this thing called social information filtering, right? So a lot about recommendations is actually sociology. It is not computer science. It is sociology.
Mm.
It is not just algorithmic, because it is how humans want to hear right about things that they should be doing. An aspect about social information filtering is that when I tell something to you, I would have already filtered so many things that I don't want to tell you, and there'll be some things that I want to tell you because of your past, because of your nature, and all that. At the same time, when you are listening to me, you will know what you should like focus on, right? So if I talk about like how Dubai life is, something that I absolutely don't know about, you will not give importance to it. But when I talk about recommender systems, probably your eyes will open up, because yeah. So essentially, what happens is there is selection in what goes out, and there is selection in what comes in as well. This principle is called social information filtering.
Interesting.
And a lot of times you actually go by such recommendations in what you do by left, right? And something that is very human, right, is how many times have you had people who will call you from nowhere, right? You did not ask anything to them. They will call you and tell you, hey, you need to be doing this, right? It happens all the time. This is very human about it, right? So they'll randomly call you and say, do you know about this? I think you need to be
Yeah.
doing this, right?
Yeah.
So and this is a recommendation, right? So the charter for recommendation is not like I go to a menu and the menu needs to change to me, but what I should be doing should be coming to me as well without me asking, right? So in that sense, we are very far from like looking at all the possibilities that can be done, right? So
Yeah.
obviously with more and more knowledge of what people like, what they don't like, what their people close to them like, all of them, this system will keep improving. It's certainly not solved, right? Because there are very few. And then how you show as well, right? So now whatever I'm telling you, if you're just looking at my face, you will, it's not. But if I show it in a video, right? So then
Yeah.
obviously you like it better. So how you recommend also matters, right? So in that
Right.
sense,
Right.
so that sense, the beauty of this field is it is about persuasion, and hence about psychology, right? So it goes to
Yeah.
way beyond what you think is computer science and algorithms that way.
No, got it. Got it. Very interesting point about the social aspect, and of course the human in the loop. Right. Basically, even the larger OTT platforms cannot not have a video editor or a content editor to sort of throw in pieces of content that the algorithm would have surely missed
Correct,
in,
correct.
in its process. So that takes me to the next question of Sensara TV. Tell us more about some of the products that you guys are building and licensing to content companies and tech companies.
Yeah. So Our flagship product is what we call as video discovery optimization. It's called SceneSense, where what we do is we look at like a library of video. We analyze scene to scene, frame to frame, and we obviously with that understanding we can make all the entire video very very presentable, and thereby also reduce the need for human workflows. And you are looking at an industry that used to do a lot of work around these systems called MAMs, media asset managers, and increasingly they will all become agentic, right? So wherein earlier people would say automation, but 80% of the work was done by humans, and it's going to invert and largely become 80% done by agents and 20% done by humans. This is where the industry is moving, and is moving there very rapidly. Our flagship product is that, which we sell in enterprise license to top tier OTTs to solve many use cases, right? So the biggest challenge almost everybody has in premium video is they think they're all competing with each other. Warner Brothers will think they're competing with the Netflix, but no, all of them are competing with YouTube and Instagram, right?
True.
And because there are a lot of people that don't even come in here because they're stuck in other attention traps. And how can you bring out the premiumness of the video is to make it survive and keep people glued to a larger screen, right? So
Mm,
that is the
mm,
central focus of this product. So we've packaged everything that you need to do from a media services standpoint, from content marketing standpoint, from recommendation systems into one package into this, right? So this is called SceneSense. That's our flagship product. We've
mhm.
had like some customers on this as well. It's been very successful. It's able to handle reasonably good scale. Of course, there are lots of learnings that we have, and we've been improving. And the other thing is, you're looking at a space where both the top and the bottom are changing, right? What's underneath you in terms of foundations are changing every day, and the market is also changing every day, right? You obviously know that there are a lot of big time mergers and
Mm,
acquisitions and all that happening because the nature of business is changing. So that aside, it is this is the kind of the main product. Uh,
mhm.
Around this is Scene Sense, right? So in fact, the simple way to explain our company is we are find and replace, but for video. Okay, so find,
Right.
if I can understand video, I can find anything in video, and if I find
Mhm.
something, I can replace things in video, right? Very simple to say. You get used to this in MS Word. It's probably one of the first few algorithms you write in if you're a coder, which is find a piece of text and then replace it with something else. But even today, there's no good product in video that does this, right? So
True, true.
so obviously with SceneSense, I'm talking about the finding part. The other part that we do, which we call as video transformation, is if there are interesting aspects, can we modify the video? Sometimes in real time, sometimes later, and all that. So the latter part is very interesting from for compliance.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I mean, we've had like massive deployments where for a major broadcaster from India, when their channels are being telecast in another country, we convert them
Mhm.
into ad-free feeds automatically, right?
Mm,
And then we
mm,
have this ability to do contextual overlays. We have the ability to do what is called as brand flipping. There could be
mhm.
one brand that is shown maybe in a poster, and we can on the fly change it to something else, right? So this is the replace part. Again, it derives from the ability to understand what's happening in content very very clearly and to high precision. So
No,
in
nice.
fact, all our products just fall into this find and replace. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. No, I think, obviously this has been around now for a while, but on the ad tech side of things, there have been cases where you want to, let's say insert a, there's a bottle, you want to slap a brand around it, um, and obviously monetize that content for the content owner.
Correct.
And those sort of things
Correct.
have remained, and now the entire video commerce space over the last 4 5 years has taken off. um, and there is a contextualization of that also, where you can
Correct.
have more contextual ads, etc., basis the kind of content or context or the objects available in those scenes that are coming up.
Correct.
um,
Correct.
do you guys work with any sort of ad tech companies or
We
advertising
do. We
companies,
do
or
work with. Yeah, yeah. So we are mostly we provide the technology, but this is taken to market by a demand side partner. So
got it? Yeah.
across regions, we have operations in India, Southeast Asia, South Africa, in the US as well. So we have operations in all of these places where there are demand side partners. See, some of these problems are interesting. There have always been companies that did, oh, I'll have a Coke bottle, replace it with Pepsi, but heavily human, right? So they obviously they do this frame by frame.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the massive opportunity that you have is, you look at this video. Behind you there is a planar surface. Behind me there's a planar surface. There's you can create inventory out of this. Now you go back into
Right.
archives, right? How much of video that you have, and these are hard problems as well, because when you go into an archive, the same scene would have been shot from multiple angles, right?
Hmm.
And if you're looking at what is behind me, but the camera is coming from there, you still
Hmm.
need to place it and it has to look clean and good, right? So, which means across the
Hmm.
shots, you need to know that this is basically the same place but from a different angle, right? So some of these are hard problems to solve from a video engineering and understanding perspective. And when solved, you will have like a lot of inventory that you can start working with suddenly.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. And then going back to what you said about the multimodal stuff that's coming out with video, how does that impact a company like Sensara, and what opportunities does it open up?
Oh, it is helping us a lot. So okay, so the way this space has progressed is, you would have, um, initially it was called video analytics, right? So what in video analytics is, everyone solved what is called as a counting problem. How many how many people are there in the scene? How many objects are there in the scene? Is there a number plate? Can I read the number plate, and all that? So there was a wave of AI that actually did video analytics, right? And then there was uh, the video understanding system started to come, and which is where the multimodal understanding also is kind of there, where you're saying, I'm not just counting, I'm trying to tell what is happening in this video, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is happening in this video is, things like, hey, this is a video where Tom Cruise is riding a motorbike off the cliff, right? And then he unrolls the parachute, and right, which is the understanding part of describing what is happening in a video, is the
Right.
understanding part. Quickly, it is now going into video reasoning, where you're asking, why is Tom Cruise doing this, right? And why is he jumping off the cliff? What was his intention? Didn't he? What were the dangers that he thought in mind, right? So now you're going into the reasoning of this.
Interesting. Hmm.
So after the first wave of companies will do video analytics. There's obviously, whenever there's a company that does this, you'll also have open source that follows it. Cloud also was offering quite a few. You had AWS recognition. Google had like Vertex AI and all that. Now it is transitioning towards video understanding models. There are some excellent startups here. Open source has also caught up, right? And quickly it is moving towards reasoning. Now, our play is actually in the reasoning play, and the difference in approach that we've taken is that suddenly the video understanding companies, what they're doing is they are marrying the notion of understanding video along with the LLM, and they're saying it's the same place where you can reason about the video. Okay, while this is good and it seems magical, where it suffers from is it cannot handle human in the loop, right? So, for instance, I
Yeah.
just give you video of maybe Saspi Bahuti, right? So Now, the VLM is not trained on this, which means it doesn't know who the characters are, right? And
Yeah.
then I asked the question like, okay, why is Aditya doing this? It doesn't know who is Aditya, right? You need to build this knowledge inside this. So essentially, the systems that we are doing is we have like a higher level architecture where we have kind of aggregated what is there in the structured space, like all structured tags, human in the loop. You can swap out a speech recognition system, bring something else, right? And you also have a video understanding system embedded into this. And the reasoning layer works on top of this, which has married both the worlds together, right? And it is able to give fantastic results. We are flagship product. In fact, just today we were evaluating this thing called is called a narrative builder, where you say I will load in, say, the entire season of Game of Thrones, and then I ask a question like, hey, give me a cut from this where Jon Snow comes into the picture. He goes through some kind of difficulty, and then his character kind of grows, right? So this is a narrative that you feed in onto a larger
Wow.
uh, archive, and then you say,
Yeah.
give me exactly this, right?
Right.
And so the idea is to build agents that can go interact with all of this structured pieces of knowledge and extract that and give you something that's interesting, right?
Super. Yeah.
So yeah, so we are moving towards that. It's massive in the sense that the suddenly people are like, oh, was this even possible? And we are already facing this thing that 3 months back, the who's who of Hollywood, when we started showing this, they were like, wow, I've never seen something like this. And now they're all like, hey, so many people are trying to do the same thing, right? So what's new, right? So
Yeah.
every month you have to do something better and better. So
Yeah.
in that sense,
That's
the
the
whole
challenge.
community is,
Yeah. I mean, that's the
yeah,
challenge that all of us are facing. And I must say this, I mean, I've been sort of tracking companies in the at the intersection of AI and media tech for a few months now, maybe a couple of years, and it's not easy to sell this to enterprise. I must say that out. That kudos to you guys to have successfully sold to enterprise, because there are people who are believers, and there are majority of people who are like, okay, maybe it's too early, I don't know how to adopt and adapt this into my workflows. And clearly there is this fear where people might lose their jobs. Of course, that space in media, especially since it's under pressure overall, that always lingers. What's your experience been selling
correct.
this to enterprise?
No, everything that you've spoken about, we've gone through, right? And you need believers. The nice thing about many enterprises is there are innovators inside enterprises as well.
Hmm.
And if one of them turns to your champion, turns to be your champion, then you'll be able to do something, right? So people inside a large enterprise may face multiple problems. There's always naysayers. They'll say, why are you doing
Hmm.
this? And there's no immediate ROI. And so right, like there are innovators, there are early adopters, there's early majority,
Yeah.
and laggards as well. So this is certainly there. But slowly, what is happening now is initially supply was coming in, right? And then like, do we really need this, right? And then more and more supply is coming in. There are more people saying, oh, it's going to change this. What is
Hmm.
interesting is there are new types of companies that are coming up, which you will call them, earlier they would call them, you would call them digital natives, right? So which is they
Hmm.
only build for the internet. Now there are new companies coming up which are AI natives. They start now, they've raised funding, they're going after the media market, but they do not go after the old MAM systems, the old broadcast systems, and so on. And they start out being AI native that are there. These companies will succeed super fast because they don't have the baggage of the larger company, right? So it's So you need to be able to find people like that, who are like are not trying to transform from the old but are starting afresh. Generally, as a startup, this is a very nice match because you don't have a past history that you need
Yeah.
to work with. But it's getting easier and easier to work with a larger company because they all know the change is inevitable and they need to do it now or later. Mostly the question is that they have is this month or next, or with this company or the other one, right?
Right.
And they're all serious enough, right? And they're like, oh, should we go through the RFP route, RFQ route? And many people also don't want to believe in snake oil, right? So a lot of companies that will come and say, I can promise this, promise that, and especially the experiences in adopting an LLM for most industrial purposes is very soon you hit a wall where it's not working for you anymore, and that's the stage where you need like an expert company to come and do this for you. So people are cautious. Mostly enterprises will say, I want a POC, I want a pilot, and only then adopt this. Right? So this is becoming a norm right now. And as a startup, we are not a startup, right? We say we are a company that's been, because some of these companies, enterprises, we've been serving them for 5 6 years and longer and all that. So you need to be aware of these cycles, and then cater
Right.
to that.
Right. No, interesting. Probably one of the most exciting times to be in the media space, as I say, since the advent of the color television, in terms of the disruption.
Yeah,
You had the 50s with
correct.
the TV, and then people thought, okay, OTT has come, streaming has come, this is going to be it. Now AI has come and obviously disrupted a lot of things and have, obviously much more than just automation. So,
Correct.
no, fantastic. And Bharat, maybe also share with us what has your funding journey been like? You said that you've been working with companies for the last 5 6 years, so clearly you are startup plus plus. Share with us that those nuggets.
So overall, we raised about 3.5 million, and the last time we raised the round was 5 years back. We've been profitable since then and growing organically at good, decent rates. We do want to accelerate the path. So initially it was like slow, the acceleration, because the rate of adoption for enterprise was a little slower. But now we are seeing that the entire market across the world is all ripe for change, simply because there's so much of supply and obviously demand that everybody now is they're all sitting and saying, okay, we have to do something about that, right? So to be able to scale up to the market, obviously you'll need more funding, simply because you have all these POC cycles and the pilot cycles, and you have to constantly be improving both in terms of what models you use, how you're tooling this, how this gets integrated. There's so many different forms. You need to be able to serve on-prem, virtual private cloud. People move data centers. You need to work alongside with them. All of
Yeah,
this requires work, and certainly we need to scale up there. So we are
yeah,
probably later this year we'll be doing a larger round.
got it. Nice, nice. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think acceleration is the word for 2025, especially for AI.
Right.
No, that's great. And then, fantastic podcast. Thank you for all the information. Last question before we end is that, anyone who's starting out in the attention economy, as I like to call it, the space that we love, media tech, media, but also, of course, video. What advice would you give to folks who are starting out now or thinking of starting up?
So I think you need to be either close to the money, right? And you design your company so that you are close to where the cash is, and build around that, right? So, and build the tools around that. If you're a technology company, you want to leap forward, right? What is the next hardest problem that you're trying to solve? Because you can't be a mashup company anymore, because it's becoming easier and easier to do a mashup company. If you're saying I'm a new startup, I'm going to use cloud AI as a layer, and I'm going to build like thin tools around this, and then try to call it. Many people try to call it as like, oh, it's my AI, even though they're using some cloud AI underneath it. It'll be hard because many more people will come like this because the cost of doing that is getting lower there. So I think if you want to build a slightly longer term company, you want to be on either extreme, which is be closer to the money, right? And which means if you think about the workflows of you're saying, okay, contextual advertising is going to take off, the needs of this market from a demand side is very different. What so brands are used to being rigid about what is being spoken about the brand on television and so on. Now you're simply coming and saying, I'll do contextual advertising, which means that the messaging has to change, tailored to every person. So you have to lose that rigidity, right? So the needs
Yeah.
of the brand over there, right? So you would probably focus on that. Or if you're at the core bottom, video models are there already. And what is the next thing that needs to be solved? So it's good to either hedge on either extreme and then start core work on that.
No, love it, man. I think be close to money. That is the tagline for me for the advice.
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you, Bharat. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate
Thanks a
it.
lot. Loud being here. Yeah.
And good luck for all the things coming up
Cool.
with AI. The disruption is fast and furious. So
Yes.
kudos and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.